In a world where grifters and opportunists spread misinformation and lies, the truth has become a rare commodity. We're force-fed information, handpicked by an algorithm that censors our dissent, silencing our voices and crushing our thoughts. The time has come to take a stand. Here is a place where your voice is turned up to 11. Welcome to the Commentarium. It's funny how he says like two words with respect to the questions, and then goes off and repeats the previous statements. He just goes to the beach and he thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, which he doesn't. LOL. I never went to his island, but a lot of people did. Lex, I think you're at your best when you're being positive and not criticizing the other side. Donald, I think they're nasty. How do you stop the division? Fuck those two other guys. It's insane to me how many non-answers you just simply allow without even trying to follow up. I was especially interested in the Ukraine take and especially shocked that you didn't follow up. Everyone bad except me and a lot of people dead is not a position. Respect that he came on the podcast, and I agree with a lot of what he is saying, but I can't help but notice he weasels his way out of every difficult question pertaining to very significant allegations of corruption. My God, he's so modest, more modest than everybody. I think Trump should be the first one to be brought back to the mental institution. Speaks a lot without actually telling us anything. Gotta love how he dodged the Epstein thing. Shortest segment in the entire interview. Mr. Trump talks sideways with schoolyard tactics. They are the worst. I am the best. Is the equivalent of you smell because you do. Stop the negative criticizing. Be the bigger person. It's creating this division. Why can't everyone just get along? Ungrounded statements by Trump and Lex not challenging him on anything. Way to go, Lex. The more he talks, the least knowledgeable he sounds. He's even worse than I thought. The inability to keep a steady stream of thought and constant bloviating and utter nonsense is incredible. Trump, I don't focus on the past, I focus on the future. Also, Trump, the election 4 years ago was stolen. Lex said, hold my beer, to Fox News softball interviews. Damn, I've just lost all respect for Lex. He has no journalistic ability. This was a Fox propaganda interview. Pathetic. He cannot think quickly enough on his feet to ask the second question. Trump, I have never seen Project 2025. I don't know anything about it. People will like a lot of the stuff in Project 2025. And it's common knowledge J.P. Hamill, Vance, wrote the intro. Embarrassing Lex. Very embarrassing attempt. Afghanistan was the most embarrassing thing in the history of the U.S., huh? What about slavery? Used to like Trump. Not sure anymore after this terrible interview. Lex didn't demand a straight answer for any direct question. Small talk for an hour masked as an interview. Lex, how would you negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine? Trump, Biden doesn't look good in a bathing suit. I've had more publicity than anyone who's ever lived, bro, who takes this goofball seriously. Lex is desperately trying to help him to not put his foot in his mouth over and over. I bet the J6 people currently serving jail sentences are feeling real good. Hearing Trump say, "We lost by a whisker, LOL." 20 mins in, and I don't think I've heard Trump give much of a straight answer or anything. He keeps repeating the same talking points no matter the question. It's hard to listen. I'm not blue nor red, just not interested. But I was Curry's because of Lex. What Trump says is very contentless, general, and at times completely random. YouTube is messing with this video, freezing the video but leaving the audio running. Never experienced that before. Never. Not once. Lex, scraping the bottom again. I have to say, I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for a guy who can't string together one coherent sentence, but thinks of himself as the greatest of the greatest. What makes me wonder is how anybody on this planet does not see through that loser. The bar has been set very low for anyone who wants to play president. 15 min in, and it is embarrassing how he twists the conversation not to answer the questions directly. Did this interview change anyone's mind about Trump? An old-school chatbot on power save mode could give less repetitive phrases and more substantial answers. Please someone ask him if he uses this style intentionally so average Joe can comprehend, or do we have to fear this is really the level of his inner monologue? All right, well, that's an hour of my life I won't get back. Lex, you once said that you thought you could interview Putin better than anyone. I believed you up until this interview. This was textbook softball, not just the questions, the lack of follow-up, and just allowing Trump to ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble. 3054. This answer is why people hate Trump. His answer to reducing division is getting rid of the other side, because the other side is awful. That's the worst answer you could possibly come up with. The guy is so self-absorbed and obsessive, it's scary. He didn't really answer anything, started yapping his same nonsense, and then when you challenged him to answer it again, he didn't. This boy is a joke. You can wax poetically, but your true nature has been brought to light. You've made your bed. Sorry if it's not comfortable. 1920. I have never understood when this is mentioned how mental patients released from southern countries could navigate across South America, past the treacherous Darien Gap, all the way to the American border, and 3 days, nights through the desert. These are some durable mental patients. I honestly can't tell anymore. Is this real, or satire, or a parody, or Saturday Night Live? What was that show on Comedy Central like 25 years ago, where they pretend to interview people? The way he changes subject on Epstein, dicey. How funny. He isn't even good at rhetoric. He just doesn't care that he sounds stupid. It hurts my brain not to see any of Lex's questions answered properly. Way to not follow up any of those ridiculous answers, Lex. So disappointed. I understand you're not a journalist, Lex, but to allow blatant lies is just disgraceful. What an absolute shill interview by centrist Lex. LOL, such a low-ball interview with little to no depth. Was this a Trump demand before he agreed to the interview? What I learned from the podcast. 1. How to stretch a few words, answer into a 5-year-old's essay. 2. We are listening to a convicted criminal who is running for president. Finally, he said he lost the election by a whisker. I'm used to big brain discussions on Fridman's podcast. This was painful. I grow more and more convinced that Trump is genuinely unhinged and detached from reality. I wonder if Lex gets as frustrated as I do when Trump refuses to answer any good question he asks. It's like we've already heard these same 10 talking points Trump does tangents on. Just answer a fucking G question, dude. I'm trying to give Trump a chance, but he never answers these questions I want him to respond to. This is the most cut pod I've seen on this channel. Interesting. Do people actually believe these things when he calls his crimes hoaxes? I wish people would just read his indictments and the supporting evidence. I wish we wouldn't give this man so much leeway to indulge in his fantasies and to lie so flagrantly. Lex is Republican. He's not fooling anyone. This wasn't even a softball. It was a tea time talk. Lex changed so much since moving to Texas. I don't talk about the past. I talk about the future. Proceeds to talk about the past for 30+ minutes. You didn't ask vital questions? It was cowardly and not hard to do. Sad. So pathetic. How can anyone listen to these inane ramblings and still suckle from his teat? Like, yeah, this is my guy. Are you okay? Like, seriously, are you all right? Barely any questions answered directly, and I am pro-Trump. It just goes to show how disingenuous the charade of politics is. Pay close attention upon listening to this, and realize a lot of this conversation says very little at all. Trump says he has all these plans and ideas, but then decides not to share. Don't we as voters have a right to know even a basic idea of that these plans entail? It makes one wonder, does he actually have any plans for these issues brought up? Even in this highly vegetarian interview with Lex, Trump revealed his selfishness and narcissism through the story of the deceased veteran. Embarrassing. But more importantly, he is a divisive figure who doesn't offer any plan B for half of Americans, aside from his craving for power. For him, it's either winning or letting everything burn, and both are options. I don't think I've ever seen a more softball interview than this. Well, he did ask some hard question. He didn't answer any of them, and no pushback from Lex. Joe Rogan is right to not platform Trump. Vanity, pure vanity. Shame on you, Lex. You have stooped to a new low. Way to have no spine and softball this one. Your lack of interviewing skills and integrity really shined here. Unsubbed. Why does he dye his skin orange and lie every 5 seconds, though? Lol. The more I hear this guy talk nonsense, the more I can't wait to vote against him. Thanks, Lex. What a disappointment this interview was. I learned nothing new about Trump. He wasn't answering the questions, and he got no pushback. I had been really looking forward to hearing it when I saw the title, but feel really let down. Absolutely terrible. No pushback from Lex. No substantive answers from Trump. Literally no pushback on Trump's endless lies, and Lex wonders why people accuse him of being a closet Republican. Fantastic questions, Lex. But Trump, to me, can't answer a single question. And it's such a shame, because there were some questions in there that were golden. It seems like Trump hears one given word in a question, and then takes that word and goes on a rally rant about that topic, completely ignoring the nature of the question. Convinced me why there's no way I vote for this guy. He's clearly losing it. I even less like Trump now. Long-form interviews show their true color. I didn't realize just how senile he was until this interview. He just rambled on and on like my grandfather used to do. He'll talk to anyone who listens. I think this will become the best example of someone mentally deteriorating in the most public way ever. We will look back at this and say, oh wow, yeah, the wheels were really falling off at this exact moment. Actually quite distressing to watch. I'm sure Trump's team are having an even worse time than most. If anyway, can't see this guy for what he is, a con artist. They need their head checked. Wish you would have asked why he self-sabotaged his campaign with such a deadweight VP nominee. What a waste of an interview. I love Lex, and he does an amazing job most of the time. But my lord, this was basically Trump just going through his talking points. Did we learn anything new, or did we see Trump in a new light? A resounding no to both of those points. Extremely disappointed in this interview. This was as vanilla as you can get. So Lex is just going to sit there and let Trump lie nonstop without any pushback whatsoever? And I thought Fox News did softball interviews. This man Trump is a thoroughly empty person. He talks a lot but says nothing. Trump rambling, doesn't complete a thought. Why are so many thinking this is a good interview? It's just his rally on low volume. Pretty pathetic interview. Just another venue for Trump to lie his tail off. Trump is a great small talker. No substance on any question. Lex. The country is divided. How can you help? Answer. You can to rid of these two. They're terrible. Again, a lot of sentences, but no answers on how he would help. Kamala is probably bad, by Trump is worse. Donald Trump, doing everything he can to avoid talking about Israel-Palestine, is hilarious. Be nice if he could, you know, not have to repeat how bad he thinks Biden and Kamala are. People want to hear something new, something regular short-form interviews can't do. Instead, he just says the same things he's always said. Kind of disappointing. Especially after the candid opening where he came across as more thoughtful and introspective than I've seen in a long time. Glad you put the 10-minute postscript about Elon in. I had almost forgot for a moment that you're his personal butler and bottom boy. This one is rather disappointing. Trump said nothing, and here I was, hoping he was going to the jungle to take ayahuasca. Props to Lex for even mentioning it. At the end of the day, these 1H podcasts with mild questions never go deep. As much as I love Lex, I wish he would have pushed for a deeper, more multi-layered conversation. You wouldn't have NATO if it wasn't for me. Give me a break. Ah ha ha ha, what a muppet. OMG, such a shit questions. Where are the policy questions? It is President, former USA President, and you ask him questions. How to be successful in business, waste of time. Another useless interview with Donald Trump. I bet this is the most useless empty interview you ever made, Lex. Maybe even worse than the one with Benjamin Netanyahu. Lex, where was your honesty and credibility when he lied again and again? You just asked another question each time he fed you BS. This was not an interview. It was a platform for a pathological liar to spread the same lies. Shame on you. Yeah, so he really is dumber than we all secretly want to believe. Gosh, this is unwatchable. He doesn't have a clue, does he? Trump literally had Republicans block the toughest immigration bill in USA history so that he could run on immigration. He publicly took the blame. Lex is such a right-wing shill. God, this is edited to death. I used to love Lex podcasts, stopped listening for a while, and came back to see he started platforming. This bullshit. So very disappointed in you, Lex. Trump is the least interesting person I've seen on this podcast. Lex doesn't follow up on anything here. Too bad. His vocabulary is so limited, it's hilarious. Still baffling why anyone would vote for him, even after his failed coup. To get your comment read out on the Commentarium, write a comment. That is good.